In Germany, we have a tradition for New Year's Eve. So right after midnight, we eat a Berliner. A Berliner is kind of like a donut, and where you put a hole, we put something else. So we start the New Year's sweet with a Berliner, and it's also called Krapfen or Berliner Pfannkuchen. I'll show you how we make it. So here's a quick overview of the ingredients that you will need. You need 500 grams of flour, 30 grams of sugar, 125 milliliters of milk, 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla sugar, and if you don't know what that is, you can learn how to make your own vanilla sugar right here in the blog post. If you don't want to do that, you can also use some vanilla extract instead. Then you need 100 grams of butter, a package or 7 grams of yeast. Also, you will need a liter of frying oil, and you should use an oil that has a high smoking point. Then later for the decoration, you will need some sugar and confectioner's sugar, and for a filling, your favorite jam. You could also use some vanilla pudding. Then you should have a thermometer like this, or any kind of thermometer that is okay with a high temperature. And you will need a piping bag with a long piping tip. So all these ingredients were in grams. If you need that in cups and ounces, you will find that on the blog post, and the blog post has the printable recipe in both measurements, so either metric or US customary, you will find it there. You can switch between that. Alright, so let's get started. I'm basically preparing a yeast dough now, and I'm starting with the flour, and then I'm adding the yeast. And I very often get the question what kind of yeast I'm using, and yeast is yeast. It does what it does. It will rise your dough, and it doesn't matter if it's fast rising instant yeast or active dry yeast. It's yeast. I mean, you have to stick to the instruction of the package and use it the way that it's supposed to be used, but other than that, it really doesn't matter if you have a fresh yeast or any other kind of yeast. So I add the milk. The milk is lukewarm, which means it's slightly above room temperature. Then I also add the sugar in part, just a little bit of it, and I give it a moment to activate now, and then I will continue with the other ingredients. Looks good here. So I'm adding the remaining sugar now. I'm also adding a pinch of salt. It wasn't in the ingredients, but I like to have it a little bit salt in it. I'm also adding the eggs. And the vanilla sugar. Let's be generous, I'll take 2 teaspoons. And the butter I will add while this is kneading. Okay, so since the butter stick is 112 grams, I will keep some of the butter off the stick, and I will knead this now for about 10 minutes. So let's take a look here. This dough is very nice. It shouldn't be sticky. If it's too sticky, you will have to add a little more of the flour. This is a very nice soft dough that I have here, and I will now let this rise for 1 hour, and then I will continue. In my next step, I'm now shaping the Berliner. So I take it out, punch it a little bit down. And now I'm weighing portions of about 80 to 90 grams. And now I have to shape these into spheres, and I'm doing this just the way that I'm doing this when I make my rolls. I guess some have watched the video for the German rolls already. So I'm basically pressing it down onto the surface. At the same time I'm making my hand in some kind of hollow shape, and I turn these. So at the end I have a very smooth top, and the seam is on the bottom here. Okay. So, and this goes onto a board that I have floured a little bit, and I will continue to do this with all the portions that I made. And then this will be covered with a towel and will be rising again for 30 minutes, and then I'll put it into the fridge for 10 minutes. My little Berliners have rised, and they really increased a lot in their size, and that is very important. Now they're in the fridge, and I'm heating the oil to 180 degrees. It should be about 170 to 180 degrees Celsius, which is roughly 350 degrees Fahrenheit. It shouldn't be hotter than that, but it also shouldn't be cooler than that. So make sure of this. And before I start now, I want to explain what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So when I take one of these little dough pieces, I put them in head first. So the smooth side will go into the oil first. And the reason for that is that when I was letting them rise, the top was rising but not the bottom. So when I put this into the hot oil with the bottom on top, the bottom can rise during the frying. And to increase this effect, I will also add the lid to the pot so that there's enough heat for the bottom to rise, so that the Berliner will not be like flat with a dome. It will be like more round, and in the center of the sides there will be kind of a light rim. That's what I want. So in just a few minutes I can take my dough out of the fridge. For the last 10 minutes I put it in there just to get a better top, and yeah, then I will show you here on the stove how I'm doing it. Okay, here we go. So this is number one, and as I said, I'll put it with the top first into the oil. I think I can fit 2 of them in here. And I close the lid as good as possible with the thermometer in there. And then I turn them around. Okay, and now this goes head first into some sugar. And that is something you have to do while they're still hot. It will be difficult to do that later. Okay. Oops. Okay, and time to do the next one. So the difficulty here is to keep the oil at the right temperature so that you get this kind of lighter rim here. That is only happening if the temperature is right, and if it's too hot, the Berliner will be brown from the outside while it's still raw from the inside. So that is something to keep in mind. So I would say a temperature at about 160 to 170 seems to be ideal. 180 felt like it was a little bit too warm. Some of my Berliners did not turn out exactly as I wanted, but I think they're still good. So let's move this into the sugar. So once the Berliners are cool to a touch, you take one of these and you pipe in the jam. And once all these are filled with the jam, I'm putting some confectioner sugar on top. And now they're ready to eat. Now let's just cut one open and see how it looks from the inside. Delicious. I'll have a bite. They're best when they are warm. Wonderful. So this brings this video to a conclusion. I hope you liked it. I will eat one of these now and I will freeze some of them. They are perfect for freezing, and then you just thaw them in the fridge and warm them up in the oven. And so I have them already for New Year's Eve. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell button, and I hope I see you in the next video that will be coming up in just a few minutes.